Hi, everybody. Welcome. Oh, it's so good to see you guys. Sorry I'm late, slash not sorry, because I just had dinner with two of my favorite marks from the audience and our dear friend Philip Ittner. And tomorrow he is going to be in studio with Johnny Million and I at WCPT for the entire show. And then afterwards, he and Johnny Million and I and a couple of other lucky patrony people who are hanging around are going to get together at a Ukrainian restaurant. And then I think I'm gonna. This is the only time I'm gonna actually eat tomorrow, because I've got a show tomorrow night as well, and we're having a little get together with regular viewers of the show and some patrons who are in the area before the show, and then some of the ones that I will also see at Sexy Liberal, who will be at the meet and grope, and it's just gonna be really fun. And I still have a lot of work to do tonight after. And then my friend Ben, turns out he's playing in town, at Reggie's, so Summer and I are going to bug out right after I finish the show and go down to Reggie's just to see him. And also, I just added this thing right as we were coming in, and because I was trying to fix some stuff, and I noticed that this was, where is it? Where's it? There it is. This guy. That I added this thing, and I'm going to put it in, but I'm going to put it behind me because it will be too weird if it's going in the background, like if it's going in front of me. And sliding it down and sliding it down. That was behind there we go. Here we go. After this guy. Nope, after that. There you go. So it's behind me so that if people do emotes, it shows up all around me. I just find that that's silly and fun, and so I turned it on. I hope it doesn't gum up my entire... Is it cold in here? Yeah, it's cold. We just ate deep dish Chicago pizza at Giordano's, and if there it is, see the that's the Twitch emojis. If you guys use those, then they'll bounce around behind me. I'm just saying. Oh, it's Dark Brandon. Now you guys are gonna go nuts. I shouldn't have done it. Don't make me pull this stream over. I'm just saying, it's kind of fun. So you guys can use those. It's crazy. All right. It might be too much at some point, but for now it's fine, just because it's my birthday this weekend, so I'm allowed. Just give me a little, little room to wiggle. So tonight, obviously there's a Trump rally going on, so the best thing we can do is ignore it and go to part 2 of Hannity's interview, which he posted late last night or on his show. Now, understand, they could have, there's nothing... The length of the interview is such that they could have posted the whole thing for the hour, that's it. But he had to do so much cleanup, so much stuff at the beginning, so many edits, and then so much cleanup at the end, that they had to take this 45-minute interview and stretch it out over 2 nights so that Hannity can act as sort of his legal training wheels. That's what, for the record, Hannity did this with Don Jr. He's, Tucker did it with Matt Gaetz, but Hannity's done this before. It's in the family. So in the case of Trump, and I'll show you this right now. He's filling in. Sorry, the emojis will go away during that part because it'll be too crazy. But anytime we go back to me, they'll pop up. So that. All right. Anyway, so this, first of all, he did not doze off. This is just where I paused it. I apologize if there's commercials that come up in this. This is directly from their site. But moments away, part 2 of Hannity's exclusive interview with former President Donald Trump. Moments away. Is it? I'm all a Twitter. This is Grandpa's stimulants have started to wear off. But this is, I think it's crucial to keep in mind while you're watching this, that this is a 45-minute interview for all practical purposes, where Hannity was sitting with him talking for 45 minutes. And, from top to tails, from when he sat down and they were like rolling, ready to go, to when they went, "Thank you, Mr. President, for being here." About 45 minutes he sat with him. If it's longer, I would love to hear otherwise, but according to them, that's about how long it was, the sit down part of it. And they cut the shit out of it and used it for 2 days straight, because you can't, all all politicians, celebrities will have some edited version of their interview, and that's fine. But it's the ham-handed editing and the constant like backpedaling where Hannity has to go, don't you want to rephrase that? How can I? All right, we're prepare to hear a lot of the same talking points from the rally, by the way, because at the beginning of this, and I cut it off just getting up to the interview part, Hannity was saying, we're going to talk about the shape the country is in and whether Biden is, capable of leading the country, blah, blah, blah. Same shit he says all the time, but the same stuff he rolled into last night when they were supposed to only be talking about the legal case. So he's blathering is what they're saying. So anyways, let's jump right in because we're going to do this, and then I got to bug off and go see a live band and then get up and do radio and then go have lunch with Philip in Ukraine and then have a couple hours and then sound check and then get together with fans and then show and then there you go. Love you. A chocolate-covered almond. Thank you very much. I'm eating a chocolate-covered almond. This is not at all a piece of turtle poop. All right, here we go. Oh, so he started off by saying, if you're going to run again, this is just a teaser, by the way. If you're thinking of running again, do you worry about what it'll do to Melania and Barron? Look at this. Look at the look at the jaw. It's crazy. It's going to bug me the whole time. Oh, there's no sound on it? Beg your pardon. Hold on one second. It was working before. Gosh darn it. No, there it is. Oh. That's the sound of the thing. Hold on. Properties. All right, I'm going to have to send this out. See, I see the audio going out. I don't know why you wouldn't be getting it. Hold on. Burp, burp. Stream tracks. Ah. Monitor off. There you go. That's weird. Okay, got it. I figured out what the problem was. Here we go.
Give up a great life.
Is that better? Everybody hear that? Give up a great life. You guys heard that? We're good. I'm gonna before I start down this road too much. I don't want to. I think that solved it. Please work. Please. Hold on. I have to wait until the chat comes up. Yay! Okay, good. All right. Thank God. All right, here we go. Now.
And go back to that.
Look at his face. Look at his fucking face.
Hole.
Because I love the country. And if I don't run, I am going to jail. We were so close.
Yeah, 2 weeks away. I had my healthcare plan all ready to go. I was about to get us out of Afghanistan. I had this great infrastructure bill. The wall was finished, but there was more of it that I was going to finish more than I finished it. And we had the best numbers at the bottom.
Now, unlike the current occupant of the Oval Office, Trump was able to provide candid and detailed answers to...
Oh, don't write checks his ass can't cash, no matter how voluminous that ass might be.
Dozens of questions.
Oh, dozens.
And no cards, no teleprompter, no confusion at all whatsoever that we saw at any point.
That we saw at any point. Then why don't you just play it and shut the fuck up? How about that?
At one point, Donald Trump stated that he wanted Joe Biden, your current president, to do a good job, wanted him to be successful in a way that would improve the lives of the American people. Unfortunately, Joe is not capable. The results, they speak for themselves.
Yes, the passage of everything that Trump was promising and then some. All right.
Now, recently, Biden...
By the way, if he's saying that, let him fucking say it. Hold on. I'm going to fast forward through this because I don't need to hear Hannity's promises about what Trump is saying. Bidenomics, shut up. There we go. Like, how far ahead do you have to go with this crap? Look at this. It's 12 minutes in. Oh, here we go. All right. Back up. Got to see where it starts. All right. Overwhelmed. What time is it? Like, all right.
Capable hands. Now, that is why I did ask President Trump, if he plans to run again and challenge Biden in 2024. We'll get to that in a moment. But
Yeah.
first, here is part 2 of my interview from
We'll get to that. What do you mean? Just play the interview, jackass. It's 10 minutes in.
Mar-a-Lago. Take a look.
Take a look. Get ready for it. You're not ready for this jelly.
What do you see for the midterms, and what do you advise candidates? Now, Kevin McCarthy, it's the first time in 28 years that Republicans are doing something similar to the contract with America. He's calling it commitments to America.
It's called Commitments to America. I think it's good to make. I'm not a big fan of commitments. Third wife in, and quite frankly, I still got a foot out the door. Commitment is not, as a matter of fact, in the art of the deal, commitment, did I tell you yesterday about the whole disclaimer? It's like a page and a half on all contracts. If they want to, the commitment should come with a look, commit to this, but don't trust me to actually do my part of the commitment.
He will release that publicly on Friday.
You seem super convinced.
That's going to be great. The commitment to it's going to be a multi-page document. Some pictures, most of them will have to be colored in with the crayons provided. And
I think many Senate candidates will also sign on to it.
Many, not all.
It's your agenda. It's the
Is it? Does he get a finder's fee?
MAGA agenda. It is the America First agenda, which, by the way, Joe Biden gave an entire speech on. Did you see? I know you saw the speech because you mentioned it in your
yeah, I saw it. He gave it while he was president, and I'm not.
rally.
He talked about MAGA.
MAGA.
And then I said, no,
MAGA
you don't
Republicans.
understand. It's Make America Great Again. You know, how do you attack? Make America Great Again is under attack.
I define my political.
No, I think it's that's like somebody. It's like the Crips saying everybody likes the color red. They're attacking us because we wear the color red. Or sorry, the Bloods would be that. We're attacking them because they wear the color. I get colors. Point being is that they, and anybody who's like,
It's the hat. They don't like the hat, but they're attacking my head because they don't like the hat.
Philosophy. Very simply,
Yeah.
I'm a conservative. I'm a registered conservative because I'm in New York. Okay.
I'm registered conservative. Do they have a conservative registry beyond Republican or Democrat? I'm a anarcho-capitalist, neo-syndicalist conservative with some libertarian leanings. Where's the checkbox for that? That's a write-in, dear.
Believe in liberty, freedom.
Except for women, gays. Also, I believe in extrajudicial executions for drug dealers or people accused of drug dealing. Thank you for bringing that up.
Capitalism, our Constitution, law and order, safety and security, or else you can't pursue happiness.
Right.
That's right. You can't pursue happiness when you're being pursued by crime,
Right? Okay. I want choice in school.
but not in a woman's womb. I want choice in school, unless it's a woman making that choice, in which case...
Spend more per capita per education
Right.
with the worst results. You talk about it often. I
No.
believe in secure borders, legal immigration. I believe in energy independence.
Well, then why aren't you pushing Republicans to sign on to a bill that they know would pass and that their constituents would like, the comprehensive immigration reform bill that's been standing for... Oh, never mind.
I'd like to see that next step, like you talk about, for energy
We were
dominance.
there.
Okay.
We were totally going to do it.
I want NATO to pay its fair.
Here's an idea, by the way, just for the record. If you want energy dominance in terms of oil and gas, I mean, in deference to this dickhead, take a page out of the drug dealer's notebook, or handbook. Don't get high on your own supply. One of the ways America could be energy dominant, as far as oil and gas expenditures in the world, and sales, is to not use it anymore. Yeah, it's amazing how easy it is to sell something that you don't need yourself.
Share, free and fair trade, which you talked a lot about.
And
He's through.
I got total free and fair trade. It was all free. I got lunch.
Strength. You got to have the best military on the face of the earth. We have a lot of bad actors. And
Excuse me? I'm a fantastic actor.
I believe that the Supreme Court should interpret the Constitution and not write legislation. Now, and we believe in the First and Second Amendment.
Yeah. The rest of them, as a matter of fact, that whole emancipation part, quite frankly, and I also think we should have to quarter slaves or quarter soldiers in our houses and keep slavery. We'll work on that. I really, after the third one, I stopped reading.
That's pretty much sums up who I've been.
Trump's like,
What about the 4th and 5th? I've been talking to Mike Lindell. Apparently those are important as well.
On air. Now 36 years I've been on radio and 27 at Fox.
yep, and nothing to show for it but a few $1 million houses and a failed marriage and a lot of angry ex-employees. And Michael Cohen having some uncomfortable folders full of stuff about me.
It's 26.
And that's not conservative. You know what that is? Common sense.
I agree.
Okay? I often say, are you a conservative? I'm a person with common sense.
Yeah, it's common sense. If you have classified documents, you put them in a basement storage room at a rental property that you're barely ever at, and you just hope for the best. And of course, it's common sense that if you let Trump run a casino, it will fail.
Strong borders, energy independence, great education, strong military. All of these things, low taxes, they're going to double, triple your taxes.
No, they're not. Unless Hannity is a $1 billion company, which Fox barely qualifies as, especially if they lose the Dominion suit.
Crazy. You know, even from a political standpoint, how crazy is it? My whole life, the man who was going to lower taxes always had, or woman, always had the advantage, right, in an election.
No, they didn't. It was always a sales point, but oftentimes people would say they were, read my lips, no new taxes. And then they raised taxes because they had to, because they couldn't pay for the other promises they'd made.
Today they're talking about openly, we're going to
Yeah, it's almost like they're telling you the price of the car before you fucking buy it.
raise. How about you're talking about nuclear weapons, which is the biggest threat in the world today by far. And we have a president at the United Nations today that goes on and talks about global warming and climate change. You know, it used to be called global warming, but that wasn't working too well.
It was called global warming. Is that where like the front parts of your head get really hot? I think that only happens if you snort Adderall and you haven't crushed it up well.
So now they call it climate
before
change.
that, it was global cooling. The next
That's right.
ice age is coming.
Years ago, they thought it was global cooling. But,
Yes, I blame Leonard Nimoy.
I mean, we have such problems.
Yeah, it's so we don't even know if it's hot, if it's cold. The front of my head feels like it's on fire. My nostrils are ablaze. Where am I?
This country. And if you look at the Green New Deal, the trillions and trillions of dollars we're
Yeah.
spending on this, it's like
We're not spending trillions of dollars on the Green New Deal. We're not. We just aren't. Unless you mean like total global expenditures on renewables, in which case, globally, we spend trillions, we as humans, on fucking everything.
throwing it out the window. A big reason, by the way, for this inflation. The other big reason is what they allowed to happen to energy. Energy has gone so high, so fast, it was devastating. It lifted everything else. Now everything else has caught up. It's not merely energy.
Yeah, it's not merely energy because it's not energy anymore. By the way, anybody, hold on one second. Can I just show you something? Because I tweeted this out earlier today. I got to grab this in a separate page and put this over here and grab this over here because I'm doing it by myself because I always do. Hi. And let's see. Crude up prices. Crude up prices. Doobity-doo. Here you go. Let's see. Where is it? Well, I'll just grab the first page that's coming up. Hold on one second. Back up, you silly man. Yeah, here you go. Just grab this one. 1 second. Putting this back over here. Go back to here. Take this. And I would like to show you, ladies and gentlemen, if I may, this little headline. This is today. This is arguably maybe 4 days after this interview, because it took him 2 days to edit it and make it seem like he's not insane and just dumb. Remember when everybody was talking about like how Biden said they're going to wait till oil drops below $80 a barrel to fill the strategic reserve, right? He's going to wait until he gets to that point because it's a better deal for the American people. And everybody was like, it's never, ever going to go below 80 ever again. And it also went up when he said that to about 96. The futures went up because they're like, oh, they're going to buy a bunch. And that lasted about, 16 hours? It's friggin' at 70, 78, 74. And it's on its way down. There's no reason for it to stay up like this. It's no reason to stay up like this. This is all because of the economy starting back up again. This is all because of businesses going back out. This is all just life turning back on again. And then the stabilization as the refineries get back up to capacity and shipping gets back where it was, and recovering from the Russian attack, like the lack of oil on the market because of Russia, 5 million barrels. And so right about here, it spiked. This was when it was terrible in March, because Russia, removed 5 million barrels from the international market, and then they found a way to supplement it. He went to Saudi Arabia, went to Venezuela, went to other countries and said, add more production. Mexico, everybody crank up a little bit. We're going to add some because of our strategic reserves, but our oil output is climbing to 11 million barrels a day. It's going to be at 12.5 to 13 next year. It's going to keep going up, and there's not a need for it. We are in the middle of a huge rising demand destruction in the United States and the Western world for oil and gas. We just don't need it. And where we do need it, we need gas more than we need oil. Oil and coal are less necessary for the same energy output. We still do need some, but we're transitioning away from it. And that's a permanent transition away from that. We're going to move to renewables. It'll be more than likely that we do more natural gas, more methane, and more nuclear, along with hydropower, solar, and wind, until such time as the efficiency of those things catches up with these other things. And that's it. And as more electric cars come online, you're going to have to charge them, and you'll have to charge them using whatever materials, allow the grid to take that burden. But it's not going to be oil. It just frigging isn't. And so there's no reason for it to come back up. Oil is, for all practical purposes, it takes about $50 to get it out of the ground per barrel. In Russia, for example, it probably takes way more efficient. So it probably takes about 38 to 40 right now to get it out of the ground and packaged and shipped as a baseline cost. It's going to go below that necessity cost and require them to shut fucking places down. I'm just saying. So for all those folks that were like, when I posted a few months ago that oil prices are going down and that they would go below 80, everybody was like, brada, brada. And I was like, all right, I can wait.
If you were to run again and win.
And if you had sex with a rainbow-colored unicorn that farts glitter, and you could power all the solar plants with the sunshine that shines out of your ass as you tan the end of Sean Hannity's nose. Shortly after that,
if you were to win and become
there's a big if.
President, we would only be able to serve one term. How long do you believe you could get things back to where you
2 weeks
had it when you
after the 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks. Probably 2. We would do it immediately, but there's some things that are going to take forever to do. I don't even know if you could do it, but we got to do it, Sean.
left?
Very quickly, except for one thing, millions of people are in our country now that shouldn't be here.
So we're going to have to do like a big roundup. I was thinking we hire a bunch of people who look like the child sniffer from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang that can smell people from bad places, Sean, bad places.
Many of them are prisoners.
Would you deport them?
They're dumping out their jails. Would you deport them?
Criminals. The bad ones I would deport, yeah.
The bad ones. And you would distinguish the bad ones by what? Their eyebrow tattoos or?
The bad ones I would deport.
The very bad ones. The naughty ones I would keep, though.
Millions and
This is so stupid. By the way, immigration's a serious topic. This is an inserious man. I'm not going to take anything he says fucking seriously. There is a comprehensive immigration reform bill that exists in the world. And if Republicans could dislodge their head from their ass, Republicans could, even a few of them could join with Democrats and just pass the fucking thing, which would create a visa program for migrant workers that come in and then go back home that would be beneficial to people who are, farmers and all this other stuff, which is what, by the way, when Hillary was talking about open borders, when she said it once, that's what she meant. There used to be a time when migrant workers could come across the Mexican-American border, work for a little while, and go the fuck home. They could go literally right across, work, and go stay for 3 days in a workhouse where they were, on property if they wanted to, or they could just go home if they felt like making the drive. And that was that. But once you start tightening up the standards on that, then you've got giant agribusiness and farmers smuggling workers in just to get the shit done.
millions of people they're poisoning our country.
They're being all like foreign. They're poisoning it. They're I don't know if you've seen them, but they're zombies made out of fentanyl, and they speak this weird language. I don't even understand it.
They're poisoning. I'd like to be nice about it. Yesterday, I heard that Venezuela is emptying their prisons out into the United States.
Yes, they have a giant water slide all the way from Venezuela. Again, I've addressed this before. This fucking lunacy. He says this all the time. But so the premise of this is, because these people are allegedly walking into the country. These are not, Venezuela isn't flying, bomber jets and dumping these people out like paratroopers. They come here, they traverse ground and come here, allegedly. So Venezuela is letting these people loose out of prison and going, promise not to rapey, murdery, killy, slaughtery, stabby as you're walking through Mexico. None of that. Just you must arrive, you're a missile, so you must arrive intact at the Mexican-American border. Don't start rapey, murdery, cutty, stabby, poisony, steely until you get there, okay? Promise? I promise. No, promise for real, because if you leave here and go straight to the school, I'm going to be very upset. But it's right there. That's not the point. You can do your terribleness, but you have to wait. You psychotic... So, promise me, Theodore El Bundo? Yes. Okay, great. So, head out and start walking, and promise me you won't get stabby, murdery, killy, slaughtery, rapey, killy until you get there. I promise. Okay. All right. Let him out. Where's he going? I don't know. There was a woman hitchhiking, and he just started chasing her. God damn it. We have to have a more efficient system. Is there boats or something? This is so stupid. They dump the fuck.
I saw that.
I wasn't
report.
that shocked because other countries have been doing it, and I've been hearing about it and reading about it and seeing it. So
You've been seeing it.
I hang out at the border. I check people, and all of them are we've been trying to hire at Mar-a-Lago, and it's really hard to find somebody who's not a Venezuelan Ted Bundy.
almost surprised it took them so long. But Venezuela is emptying their prison population into the United States, going right through the border like nothing.
Again, what? Again, why wouldn't they just go to work for the cartel? If you've been let out of a Venezuelan jail, what makes you think that you're going to traverse Mexico and get to the United States and then get here and not be, what the fuck were you in jail for? Were you a cartel accountant, or were you, yink, yink?
We're poisoning our country, and it's very hard to come back from that. We can come back. We'll get the oil. We'll get the price down. If we got the price of oil down, Putin would stop. I wouldn't even have to talk to him.
Oh, so basically, ladies and gentlemen, here he is accidentally telling you partly the truth, which is one of the reasons, like, Russia was absolutely planning on, in his second term, in the beginning of his second term, while he was, taking the oath and stuff, basically attacking Ukraine at the exact same time in 2021. But because he lost, they had to postpone the plan for about a year, and then they don't really have time. They have to go and do this because they're running out of soldiers and people. Their demographic collapses for shit. So they couldn't wait any longer, but because they didn't have him helping, they had to strategically pause and wait for the weather to come back around again. Meanwhile, this dickhead tells you that one of the ways they were financing it was oil revenue. Well, if you'll recall, in 2020, during COVID, when everything shut down, oil, first the Russians and the Saudis got into a pissing match of who could lower the price more and survive. It was a game of chicken, and it was wrecking the oil economies of every other country, to the point where he negotiated them, the stoppage of that particular game of chicken, and talked Mexico into producing less oil, talked our guys into producing less oil, signed a contract saying they wouldn't do it until, spring of this year, until April of 2022, which is one of the reasons why the oil, why the price jacked up, because everybody was like, now we can start making oil again. And then they overdid it, as they always will do, and it started to go down again. He just let you know that one of the reasons why Putin why he hadn't done it in arguably 2020 after the kind of setup in 2019 is because he couldn't afford to.
Putin would stop because he wouldn't be able to afford it. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't be able to go forward, but he's making so...
By the way, he can't afford it now.
Much money, even above and beyond the cost of war.
Nonsense.
And he's selling it to China, and he's selling it to other places.
Other places? Are there other places than China?
And Europe...
He means India, but he couldn't remember.
...is going to dump us, you watch. Because they're not going to allow their people to freeze, so they're going to dump us.
Okay. He's under the impression that oil and gas is going to be so bad this winter in Europe that they are going to just give up and start buying stuff from Russia again and fuck Ukraine, and it's just all going to collapse. Meanwhile, the Republicans are running on the idea that if they take control again, they're going to strangle the money going to Ukraine as best they can. Now, that's why we started the Lend-Lease program and why we allocated $40 billion earlier this year, only about half of which has actually gone there so far in terms of stuff. And the Lend-Lease program, once it's turned on, we don't have to allocate cash to Ukraine anymore, and other countries in NATO can, for example, or even just allied countries that aren't in NATO or wanting to join, can give Ukraine monetary resources if they need to for other stuff that they can't get from us in the Lend-Lease program. The Lend-Lease program also will exist through England and through Poland and to some degree France and Germany and other countries that are giving them stuff. And what they really need is stuff. They don't need cash to buy bullets so they can do it. They just need the bullets. They don't care. Same thing with shells and military equipment and helmets and all that stuff. If they just donate the shit, nobody cares about the cash part of it, really. And the Russians that are still, in the Ukrainian system that have been trying to gut it from the inside for years are the people who would siphon the cash away, and that's what the corruption everybody's talking about is. That's just where they would take the money that's coming in and make it disappear so it doesn't go where it's supposed to go. It's not corruption, it's subversion. It's sabotage.
We're out there fighting. We're spending many times more money than them, and they're going to...
Right. So they don't have to leave us. But their own people have decided, and Olaf Scholz being, a slow to catch up with the rest of Europe, have already decided that, whatever the cost, we're gonna have to deal with them with Russia as this problem. Now, the interesting thing is, if before winter and this is a big if, but if Ukraine can take Crimea back, or even like half of it, start driving them back, and then keep the bridge that goes the bridge that goes from Crimea back to Russia, so that people can exvac out of the place. Even taking the western part of Crimea would protect the oil and gas areas of the Black Sea around Odessa and that kind of stuff, which would eventually lead to more materials. And the Europeans are going to have to deal with Ukraine to get those materials, not with Russia. And there's plenty there for Europe's needs. If they screw Ukraine out of this and Ukraine is successful, which they are going to be, there's an argument that Ukraine would charge them a higher price, not do as good a deal, send it to more friendly nations, give Latvia and Lithuania and Finland and Sweden and other countries first dibs at this gas, as opposed to Germany.
They will be dumping us. We did one thing very bad. Yeah. We allowed Russia and China to unify.
Yeah. Good, as they say in Delaware, good luck in your senior year. No, they're not unifying. They're both co-fucked. It's a catamaran made out of fishing weights.
That's a very.
It's not. They're not united. It's a three-legged race in a two-legged marathon with everybody else. They've got one leg tied together. It's not helping.
And coming up.
Also, wait, why the fuck? Look how they cut out of that. Back the fuck up. Wait a minute. Look how they leave his answer. He's in the middle of this thing. Now, again, if you're going to make the point that he doesn't need notes, he answers all kinds of questions in incredible detail, none of which you have seen. But like, I heard Argentina's dumping people. I keep saying, I saw a thing, and they're going to dump us because the oil and gas and because prices are. That's not detail. I give you detail. I just gave you a detail. Like the price of oil is $78.74 a barrel now, 5 days after this fucking interview was conducted. But watch how they cut out of his thing. It's a fairly sloppy edit. It's nuts.
They will be dumping us. We did one thing very bad. Yeah. We allowed Russia and China to unify. That's a very bad thing.
And coming up,
and he cuts him off in the middle. That's a very bad thing.
More of my sit-down interview with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Up next, I'll ask President Trump about Biden's foreign policy failures and about Joe Biden's, cognitive decline. Straight ahead.
I can't wait. Okay, I gotta think they take them by the. Oh, they do a Fox News Live thing.
Facebook is
okay. This is going to be an ad.
Taking action to keep its platform safe.
That's fabulous.
Over 40,000 people are working on safety and security.
Really?
That's more.
That's weird. It's more than the FBI. I'll just let it run in the background. Hi, lady. Hello. Anyways, by the way, it was a lovely dinner with tonight at where we had pizza. It was just, it's nice. It's just a lovely, and they run the ad twice. I'm sorry. It's just, they apparently on their online version can't get more than one ad. And what's beautiful is almost all the ads on the Fox website are Facebook. Giant. And some political ads. And then their own stuff. Please. Oh God, what's the audio on this? This is going to be their
Democracy 2022.
We think it sucks.
Welcome to Fox News Live. I'm Trace Gallagher in Los Angeles. Hurricane Fiona.
Fabulous. All right, we've got to jump ahead. This is silly. Water, airplanes, people are leaving. I'm Trace Gallagher.
Facebook is taking.
Oh God! And by the way, they if you try to jump ahead, they play an ad. It's really kind of aggravating. Hold on. And then why is this? Stop that. I'll play this back again. But like I said, it's kind of amazing to me. Big tech, Democrats own big tech. You can't trust it. And Mike Pillow calling Mark Zuckerberg Mark Zuckerberg. And yet, who keeps this entire like Fox channel afloat online? Facebook ads. Every time. And their ads, ironically or hilariously, are about security. They loop them, by the way. They have like run of the station. So all these ads just play twice on the site. It's hilarious. Oh, hold on. There we go. Back to this. So this is their
new look at socialism and how it impacts our society in the
the unauthorized history of socialism streaming now. Okay.
Kudlow leads a summit.
Kudlow's going to summit.
Are we printing money? Oh, God, this is going to be terrible. Hold on. Whoops.
Trump, where we discuss Biden's failing foreign policy, including the disaster that was known as the Afghanistan withdrawal.
Oh, yes. I remember that. The thing known as the Afghan withdrawal, where we got out of Afghanistan and we're not in Afghanistan and we're no longer in Afghanistan and we're not there anymore. And Trump said after we got out, he was going to stay forever.
Now, remember, it was Joe Biden who abandoned our fellow Americans behind enemy lines.
No, he did not.
In Afghanistan, and lied because he said 13 days prior that he would never do that. He would never leave until all Americans were out.
No. First of all, we're not going to leave them behind if they're trying to leave. If you have people who are refusing to leave because they have dual citizenship and they're in the fucking opium trade, we're not going to kidnap them and try to bring opium dealers to the United States because technically everyone.
And while he left Americans behind,
he got the last hostage, by the way, that was taken during Trump in 2020 out a week ago.
Well, it shows Joe was weak. He didn't keep his promise.
He didn't keep his promise. I mean, we are out of Afghanistan, and he did pass an infrastructure bill, and we did pass the CHIPS Act, and we do have.
And by the way, his diplomacy and reckless foreign policy is clearly emboldening all of our adversaries around the globe and causing concern among our allies. Now, contrast Biden's failures with Donald Trump's success.
Yes, the Abraham Accord. What would John Voight do, I think is the question.
Like destroying the caliphate, ISIS, that was formed.
Oh, you mean ISIS? You mean the group that the suicide bomber in Afghanistan was from and was allowed by the Taliban that Trump had made a deal with to get into the civilian side of the airport and blow himself up or herself. I don't know that I ever found out the individual identity of the suicide bomber or what was left of them, or it doesn't really matter. One of the areas where your gender doesn't matter anymore is when you've been blown to bits. You're a human being, and whether or not what reproductive capacity you have is kind of not a question anymore.
Joe was vice president, taking out Baghdadi and associates and Soleimani.
Associates.
And, of course, the historic Abraham Accords.
Yeah, so historic. So what did they do? They opened a mall, right?
De-escalating tensions with North Korea and, of course, keeping Iran.
De-escalating tensions.
Check the whole time.
By the way, why? Can I just say for the record, notice how this is Hannity saying this. Part of the illusion of this entire interview is that somehow in the Trump fan / Fox viewers' mind, what they saw was Hannity's interview with Trump. It's as if he is allegedly relating what Trump said to him in some sort of clear, concise, and short way. He answered all these great questions. He told us everything. He filled in all these blanks. He was very detailed. And then I'll give a very kind of truncated, short, list of elements. It's a gish gallop, but it doesn't matter because it happens. It's in a teleprompter, and we'll just hammer them out. And then the assumption will be is that Sean Hannity is somehow relating to the viewer what Trump said to him.
And tearing up the disastrous nuclear deal and so much more.
So much more, including Rice-A-Roni.
I sat down with the 45th president, Donald Trump.
Because he doesn't like standing for very long.
To discuss this and so much more. Take a look.
So much more.
The reason this is happening is, too, they don't respect our leader. And almost as importantly, when they watch that horrible withdrawal, the way they withdrew, I'm the one that got it down to a very few soldiers. I wanted to get out, too. And
except he wanted to keep Bagram. Please mention keep Bagram because it's close to China.
we would have had a very similar schedule, but I would have taken the military out last.
The military did come out last. We brought in 6,000 soldiers to remove those people.
I would have taken the American citizens that you talk about all the time out, and I would have taken the best equipment.
Yeah, we didn't leave behind $85 billion worth of stuff. If Hannity lets him, gish his way through this bullshit too.
In the world, military equipment, $85 billion.
Okay, garbage. We've talked about this a bunch of times. Like, how many fucking articles about Afghan scrap dealers being pissed off that the U.S. military literally shredded so much military gear that it was only usable to be melted down.
Worth of military equipment we left behind. And by the way, 13 soldiers were killed.
By the way, by an ISIS suicide bomber, which he doesn't mention, who was let in by members of the Taliban that he negotiated with, which he doesn't mention, because the Taliban was concerned about the brain drain that was happening as all the people who could run anything or do anything were getting the fuck out of Afghanistan on the civilian side of the airport. And so they let this person through to scare everybody into trying not to leave. It didn't work. Obviously, a lot of people just decided not to fly out. They just made their way to Uzbekistan or to the Iranian border or to Pakistan.
18 months under my conversations with Abdul, who's the leader.
Jesus Christ. They kidnapped some people. They didn't shoot any soldiers.
Of the Taliban.
Why didn't they shoot any soldiers? Because if they shot any, we wouldn't leave. That's the only reason they did it. They didn't do it because they were afraid of us. They knew that if they kept that part of the promise and they kept control of their people, we would get the fuck out and they would be in control again. That was the promise he made.
For 18 months, we didn't lose one soldier. And when they took the...
By the way, we lost something in the order of like 54 during his presidency. There were 96 dignified transfers of bodies coming back from overseas, and Trump went to 4 of them.
Soldiers out first, and everybody's at the airport, and nobody knew what was happening. And by the way, a lot of bad people got on those airplanes.
Oh, that's the other thing, too, is that, like, the Afghans that helped us, who vetted those people, even though he and Stephen Miller specifically in person, not like through intermediates, like, don't let those fuckers in. Like, they stymied the visa program and the special access programs that would be for the people, the Afghans who helped us and their families, because he was like, 75% of these people aren't vetted. That's because one person helped us, and then they had a wife and 2 children.
Okay, bad people.
Bad people, bad 9-year-olds, bad 9-year-old Afghans, and their bad 27-year-old moms, and
a lot of bad people are on those planes. But we lost 13 soldiers, and the thing that nobody ever
the people who were injured and wounded and their faces blown off
talks about, we also had a large number of soldiers horribly wounded, no legs, no arms. Their face was blown to smithereens.
Smithereens, by the way, is a town outside of Kabul.
A tremendous number. Nobody ever talks about them.
You told me.
Name one. He brings them up all the time. Name one. Name one soldier. Of course there were soldiers that were injured when other soldiers were killed by the suicide bomber. Name one of them. Fucker never names. He doesn't name any of the ones that were killed, much less the ones that had their faces blown off. Jesus.
In a previous interview, that you told the leader of the Taliban, before you ever talked about any withdrawal, any planned withdrawal, you said to me that in no uncertain terms, you would obliterate him if he dared not to follow every dotted I, cross T, comma, period.
Abdul, I did. Had a conversation.
Oh, my God. Why do you show me a picture of my house? This is the same shit from the rally. First of all, they were in a position to benefit from the deal more than we would. All they had to do was not kill any soldiers. They could kill anybody else they wanted. They took some contractors hostage. They just didn't shoot any soldiers. So during that time, if they just They can do everything else. They can murder people. They can kill, villagers. They can, take over territory, all that kind of shit. But as long as they don't shoot any soldiers or blow them up during the next few months, we leave. And then they can kill anybody they want.
Number of conversations.
And didn't you at one point tell him, I know exactly where you are, and give him the exact coordinates where he was?
No, I sent him a picture of his house.
Right. You didn't know he didn't have to know where the dude was. He was talking to the dude. They had a meet. He got the guy out of a Pakistani prison.
He said, but
where
why?
he was at the time.
No, he wasn't.
He said,
he was not at the house at the time, asshat. That's where his family was. As grotesque as Abdul allegedly is as a human being, and I have no reason to doubt that he engaged in some horrible shit, he wasn't threatening his life. He was threatening his wife and his children, his family who lived in his house. I know where your family is. I will blow up the house with your kids in it. That's what the threat was. It wasn't to blow up Abdul.
Why, but why do you send me a picture of me?
Oh my God. Why, but why do you send me a picture of you knew I was a frog when you tried to. All right.
I said, you'll have to figure that one out. But I said, if you do anything from that point on, we didn't lose one soldier. I said, if you do anything, we're going to.
We lost some contractors, though. They were taken hostage, and we just got the last one back.
You harder than any country has ever been hit. He said, I understand, Your Excellency. And he called me Your Excellency. I don't know if he calls Biden, but I will tell you this.
No, he doesn't call Biden. And Biden doesn't take the call of the leader of the fucking Taliban. The State Department talks to the Taliban now on occasion because they're trying to establish a government and get international aid to deal with the running of a fucking country, and they're a bunch of hicks, and they're incapable of running the goddamn place, and it's going to be a travesty, and it's going to be tribal disintegration in the country because there's no reason for it to. It's not a fucking country.
We didn't lose one soldier in 18 months. And by the way, Biden got up and made a speech, and he said that.
Right. We've heard this. This is the same shit he says at rallies.
And they didn't follow the plan. We had a plan that was perfect, but they weren't.
What was the plan?
Adhering to it. So they would have adhered to it, but they weren't.
They would have, but they didn't. What was the plan? Did you post the plan? Maybe you should have posted the plan. What is the plan? Honest to God, I don't know what he's talking about. There was no plan. He had a perfect plan. We had a perfect plan. It would have worked out perfectly. Since when?
But we were set to get out of Afghanistan. 21 years was ridiculous.
Right. I got news for you. 19 years was fucking ridiculous. 20 years was ridiculous. There was no reason why we wouldn't have gotten out entirely during COVID. Every reason we had for staying there could have been like, you know what, we'd love to stay here, and but we got to get the fuck. We can't even train your folks, our embassy personnel, everybody that works with us. So we're just going to start moving people out if that's cool. We'll do everything remotely. It's just how we do. And we could have gotten everybody out in 2020. Everybody. We could have used COVID as an excuse to go down to a skeleton crew and then vape me. Like the rest of the people were like, weren't there Americans here 10 minutes ago? Where'd everybody go?
The other thing we should have done is kept Bagram. We have an air.
All right, you can't get out and stay in at the same time, shithead. There's no keeping Bagram and getting out of Afghanistan after 21 years.
Base that cost billions and billions.
We built it. Thanks, Sean. Yeah.
Billions of dollars to build a long time ago.
A long, long time ago. A long, long time ago.
Not for Afghanistan, but for China.
It's the same shit. We've heard this before. Such detail. It's hundreds. It's where they make their nuclear missiles. It's also where the Xinjiang genocide is happening of the Uyghurs, and they're being forced to, wait for it, pick cotton. Yeah, the Chinese are using slave labor to pick cotton, among other things. But for fuck's sake.
An hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons. And now China's going to be occupying it.
So
they're going to be in there. Yeah, good luck. Again, who gives a shit? You think that the Chinese are going to do any better in they've been trying to run a fucking pipeline through Afghanistan for years. they're just going to get a bunch of their people killed. It's a dumb idea. The Belt and Road through Afghanistan is absurd.
The difference is that you told the head of the Taliban, before you discussed what the actual plan would be, what the consequences would be if he didn't follow through.
No, he didn't. Hannity is making that up. He didn't say, how is this supposed to go? Look, you're not going to kill anybody. You're not going to do it for the next 18 months. Hang on, stop crying. You're not going to do it. You're not going to kill it, because if you do, I'm going to blow up your house. And you're not going to do anything. And stop. Shh. Look, who got you out of jail? Okay, calm down. You do that for the next, I don't know, till May of next year or so, we're gone. Okay? You don't kill anybody, we're out, everybody. If we stay, then you can start killing us again. But if you kill anybody before then, I'm going to bomb your children, and if I can find you, I'll probably kill you too, but I honestly couldn't pick you out of a crowd. I take great pride in not being able to tell anyone from anyone else. And if we do stay any longer, you're I guess technically, because of the art of the deal, you're free to kill anybody you want. Also, don't feel bad. You can kidnap people. Just don't shoot any soldiers, because I don't need the press, right? He didn't give the consequences before he did the ask. What kind of bullshit art of the deal addendum is this?
Okay, so my next question is, now we watched for months when Joe Biden, before the withdrawal, we watched the Taliban on the move.
Uh-huh.
We're going from
after the date they had set, but they hadn't prepped for.
Province to province to province to province.
Different leadership of the United States.
The opposite, sort of like the opposite of
different leadership. Fucker, you let 5,000 of these soldiers out, and you let that dude out. The guy you negotiated with was in fucking prison.
You defeated the caliphate. You pushed them back province after province, right?
I wiped out
the caliphate. ISIS, we're not talking about, ISIS wasn't in Afghanistan in this respect. ISIS-K is a totally different group. The caliphate, you're talking about like the Kurdish areas of Iraq and Syria. All right, like at this point, it just sounds like he likes the word province. Like, fuck, next we're going to talk about how Trump got Al-Qaeda out of Canada.
The whole ISIS caliphate, 100%.
100%. Except that guy, the one suicide bomber that killed our soldiers. That guy, I don't know, he still calls him. Can you call yourself ISIS if you're by yourself? I mean, he's totally a lone wolf.
That's who I tell the story about General Kane, right?
Oh, fuck me. Raising Cane. I said, Raising Cane. What? Raising Cane. Sir, yes, sir.
Kane, General. We have great generals. We have great military.
And I can't remember any of them except Raisin Cane, because I eat Raisin Bran. Occasionally, my doctor makes me do it so that I poop once a month because my ass is broken from too many Filet-O-Fishes.
Not the people that are on television.
Jesus Christ.
But General Raisin Cane, we knocked out the entire ISIS caliphate. And do you remember I got it down to 97%? I said, all right, let Russia and these other countries do it now. And the fake news hit me. Well, he didn't get 100%. I was told that we couldn't do it. I was told that it would take 3 years, and I did it in 3 weeks. We have a great military. And
gibberish, by the way.
They're so embarrassed by what's happening to this country.
They're so embarrassed that they jostle the camera. They're so affected by I'm sorry, I farted.
They're so embarrassed, but we knocked.
They're so embarrassed. Honest to God. Like, it's interesting that, like, he just gets kind of in rally muscle memory mode in his, like, in his head.
Out the ISIS caliphate. I took out the 2 worst people in the world.
The worst people, yeah. Who's ever heard of Osama bin Laden? I mean, honestly.
Killed, as you know, that killed many of our.
By the way, Sean, no. Sean, you don't get to say Baghdadi and Soleimani. He's got to remember them. You just set it up that this fucker knows every detail. He's the smartest guy ever, and he did it without notes, and he doesn't need a teleprompter. You are being a teleprompter. Shut the fuck up.
Soldiers and our people. When you see soldiers walking without legs,
Yeah. Think about Soleimani. Also, think about Abdul, the guy that I made a deal with. Abdul, I know where your house is. Don't kill any of our soldiers. I mean, you've done it before, and and 5,000 of these Taliban fighters that he let out of jail, those guys have definitely killed U.S. soldiers and British soldiers and Australian soldiers. But, just don't do it till we're gone after we leave. Then whatever.
who did that to him. But we did an...
Yes, walking without legs. It's technically possible now. He means with prosthetics. But he's an idiot, so.
Incredible job. And they respected us. They were...
Walking without legs.
They're flying without wings. They're walking without legs. What is the sound of no hands clapping?
Afraid of us. They respected us. And then all of a sudden, this guy pulls all the soldiers out. You don't pull the soldiers out first. You pull the soldiers out last.
Yeah, you let them get blown up. You don't...
Again, the last person to leave was a soldier. And he left with his back to the ground. He wasn't like backing up in the thing with his gun pointing out. He was like, we're done. Get the fuck out of here.
And I could just imagine Abdul when they
fuck me.
Say, the Americans have left Kabul. They have left. And Abdul saying, this guy's crazy. Of course they haven't left. They couldn't believe it. And, I took a lot of heat.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Back the fuck up. What?
At last. And I could just imagine Abdul when they say, the Americans have left Kabul. They have left. And Abdul saying, this guy's crazy. Of course they haven't left. They couldn't believe it. And, I took a lot of heat when I called, when I...
What? Wait a minute. What?
I couldn't believe it. They actually left. Trump made that deal, and then he said he was going to stay and keep Bagram. Like, I thought we were going to be able to be killing people for years, and then now they're all gone. Good Lord.
To him, it was a rough conversation, but, got friendlier toward the end to be...
Yeah, I got really friendly. I mean, he was responsible for the murder of many of our soldiers over time, and he's a disgusting human being who, supports the throwing of acid in women's faces and shit like that. But we got along. I mean, you have to get along.
Honest with you, because they were going to do what I said, but
because they had to get us to leave. And once we leave, we're the only thing keeping them from taking over the whole fucking country.
Media said, why does he call this person? I call this person because that's where the action is.
That's where the action is. This guy, if you want to get laid in downtown Kabul, Abdul's your guy. I mean, what am I going to do? Yelp?
I called him. And
I called him. You got him out of a Pakistani prison. You called him.
He's still the leader, by the way,
No, he is not. He's like third in charge.
Taliban. Mm-hmm. Abdul.
No, he's not the head of the Taliban. Abdul.
And again, we didn't...
Fuck me. Is this guy ever going to say his last name?
There's one soldier in 18 months. Now, in Chicago, last week, you lost many...
Okay, fuck you. I'm in Chicago. Watch yourself.
People, and 70 were shot. Can you believe those numbers? 70 were shot. In New York, where Letitia James rules, we have the worst crime that we've ever had.
No, New Orleans is actually the murder capital of the United States right now because both Chicago, L.A., and New York and Seattle, not just both, obviously, there's more than two, their violent crime rates are starting to tick down after a rise after COVID.
Letitia James, she had to focus on murder and crime in New York.
Yeah, and just let the tax fraud stuff go until there are no murders in New York. I don't even know why. I mean, obviously, these are $1 million crimes, so there's obviously a tier of crime. So obviously, you're not going to go after any shoplifting, spitting on a sidewalk. You're not going to, this is Capone talk.
They walk into stores with axes and they start swinging the axes at people.
Yeah. She should be, I got news for you. From a prosecutorial standpoint, that didn't take a lot of work. You don't need a lot of investigators when you're prosecuting someone for an axe murder that was on camera in a store. And I guess he's talking about some sort of bodega thing that he probably saw. I'm just saying, those kind of crimes solved. They plead those folks to something shy of forever.
That's where she ought to be focused, not on how much is Mar-a-Lago worth.
It's a dump. What do you mean? Look at his face, too.
And by the way,
how much is Mar-a-Lago worth?
And protecting banks that got back their money. By the way, not one bank got hurt.
By the way, he said the same shit in the first part of this interview. Like, this is going to be his return talking point. Not one bank got hurt. No, asshole, you don't understand. Anybody else who was trying to buy those properties was out of the running to do it because they had standards they had to meet. You lied. There are all kinds of other things you get from owning a property, from tax breaks to the ability to leverage it for other things. And if you get it by fraudulent means, other people who could have gotten it through legitimate means are knocked out of that running. And there's an innumerable number of investor groups, other people, pension funds, whatever, that might buy buildings as investments, and you're getting them nudged out of the way because you get to lie your way across the fucking finish line.
They didn't get hurt.
They didn't get hurt. I didn't pay them a lot of times, and I had to get loans from other people under false pretenses to pay those loans, and I've been shuffling that 3-card Monte all over the place, artificially inflating the cost and the value of these places to the point where they're leveraged out the ass.
So when I see that, and when I look...
And by the way, let's point out the fact that he is totally avoiding the devaluation for tax purposes conversation entirely. He's decided the talking point about fuck the banks is going to be popular with enough people that he can go, who cares? They got their money back, and you're going to worry about whether banks got cheated or not? What kind of socialist are you? Like, when ultimately the other part of this is that he inflated the worth of his properties so he could get loans he wasn't qualified for, but the other big half of it is he told the IRS his properties were worth way less than that so that he could get a cheaper tax rate.
At priorities, and I see something like took place today in New York, and then you see all these people being murdered and shot. People are afraid to come here. It's
to Mar-a-Lago?
Really sad.
Well, I would be afraid. I don't think syphilis is airborne, but I'd have my concerns.
And yet, if you think about it...
I don't, really. Or maybe I do. What?
18 months, not one person killed.
We're back to that. Okay. He's basically got an LP in his head, and the needle skips. That's all I can explain it. That's the only way I can explain it. It's just... It's like somebody trying to listen to a record in a moving car.
Not one soldier killed in Afghanistan.
Look at the state of...
And they sliced that off, too. Did you see that edit?
The country under Donald Trump.
Yeah. COVID, the total collapse, the China deal that turned out to not be a fucking deal. And we entered into a recession even before COVID in February of 2020. And yeah, it's amazing.
Now you look 20 months down the road and Joe Biden's been president.
We've got an infrastructure bill. We're reshoring factories at a faster clip. We're going to have like 14 of the most high-tech chip factories on the fucking planet out of 16 are going to be in the United States. Okay? 14 out of 16.
And you see drastic changes.
Yes. Roads, bridges, broadband.
Drastic.
Now,
drastic is a good word. I like drastic. I'm going to say drastic a bunch. Watch, he's going to say he liked the word drastic, so he's going to say it a bunch.
So the only criticism I ever hear of you is this. Because
you're a fat pig, and you're gross, and you grope women, and you lied, and you never had a health care plan, and you never had an infrastructure bill, and you say the wall is finished, and that Mexico was going to pay for it, and they never did, and it wasn't, and then you said it was, and you still had more you wanted to build, and
People know we've known each other for almost, what,
it's mean tweets. It's going to be mean tweets.
30 years now. And people say, can you just tell them not to fight so much?
Can you tell them just not to fight some?
I can't stop fighting. I'm fighting not for me. I'm fighting for you because they're only charging me with bank and tax fraud so because they want to charge you with bank and tax fraud. Me? No, Americans, MAGA.
You just tell them, don't say this so much.
Can I respond to that?
No, I'm sorry. We've run out of time.
Yes.
I have to fight.
I've got to fight. I've got to fight. If I don't fight, I'm guilty. So I have to put up some kind of defense in court. I mean, did you see what happened to Steve Bannon? They didn't even have...
Under siege.
I'm under siege. Yes.
I'm running a country.
I'm under siege and I'm running a country. Picture this.
I didn't fight, I wouldn't have had gasoline at record lows.
No, you had gasoline at record lows because we were in a fucking pandemic and no one was driving. And things you have a lot of that no one is using, it's hard to charge a very high price for it. Just baseline economics.
Wouldn't have had all of the things that we've done.
You would have.
All of it. The whole not getting out of Afghanistan, the whole my healthcare plan. I was working on that. All of the golf.
So incredible. Regeneron. Look.
If I didn't have to fight off an impeachment, we would have had Regeneron before the disease.
What we did for the pandemic. What we did for the pandemic was...
Yeah. Without your help, the pandemic would never have been this big. Huh?
Incredible.
It was incredible. It was great. Operation Fart Steed.
Hold on 1 second. I actually have my thing. 1 second.
We did Operation Warp Speed.
Captain's log.
And if it wasn't for Operation Fart Steed,
Captain's log.
People would, they'd probably take the vaccine because it wouldn't feel like I rushed it.
Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Now, more...
Yes, because nobody had ever seen anything like the pandemic. Like, no matter what your response was, nobody would have seen anything like it because we haven't had a pandemic since 1918.
People died under Biden than under me. Then he says, I think it's good. Well, we're losing 300 people a day or 500 people a day. His statement the other day was terrible about the pandemic.
It's not over. We didn't fix it. No, whatever. Look, I made a vaccine. My people won't take it. We made Regeneron. It's questionable whether it actually works. Ivermectin, obviously. Hydroxy, clonopin, all these things. And people are still dying because ivermectin hasn't been, we haven't tried the light bulb up the ass and the bleach down the throat. And I think...
Statement about inflation was
you don't agree that the pandemic is over, do you?
Well, you have 300 to 500 people a day dying, so I would say it's not over. That's a lot of people.
A lot more people died in 2021.
That's right.
And he inherited 3 vaccines and monoclonal antibodies, which I think was underutilized.
Absolutely. And I would
totally underutilized.
Say this, the vaccines were supposed to take anywhere from 5 to 12
years. And yet with Operation Fart Steed,
Captain's log,
we were able to.
Years. And if you look at throughout the world, I would be willing to bet we saved 75 million people. Because in 1917, where you had a
1918. I mean, does it really matter at all? Like there's like, to him, it's like Jesus numbers. Like there's before Trump and during Trump, and there will never be a post-Trump because the world doesn't exist without him in his mind.
Serious virus, flu.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, virus flu. Yes.
As you know, 100 million people died. Probably ended World War I. A lot of people don't know. All the soldiers got sick.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably ended World War I. I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't because the Germans lost.
Never heard that. It sort of put an end to the war because all the soldiers from both sides got sick. But 100 million people died. I think it's reasonable.
Asshole. Fuck. We didn't. He doesn't know what year it is, right? We didn't have electron microscopes or a genome project either. This asshole's only lucky if he was. Basically, what he's telling you is that if he was president in 1918, we would have lost 400 million people.
To assume that 50 and maybe more, 75, maybe more would have died. We did a great job.
Why? Yes, if this disease had happened during the Spanish flu and they'd had COVID and the Spanish flu at the same time, dear God.
Got it done in.
If this had happened during the Black Plague, the numbers would have been maybe 55% of the Earth's population would have died.
9 months instead of 5 to 12 years, if you could do it. And
again, this is like because of how long diseases like polio had been around.
You know, we've done things that nobody can believe.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Our economy was the strongest. We had 164 million people working. That's more people working. I mean, right now, the number's peanuts by compared to that.
Peanuts.
Because they show these phony numbers.
Well, there are a bunch of workers that are missing. I wonder what happened to them.
Of 3.5, 3.6%, but they don't judge it right because a lot of people aren't looking for a job. If you're not looking for a job.
Well, that's true. With wage increases, some people have actually gotten a position where they can stay home. There are couples that are literally like, okay, both of us don't have to work. You can have an Etsy store and work at home and I'll go to work.
Even though they're capable of having it, they don't have any incentive to get a job.
Right. There you go. Hunger's an incentive. Poverty's an incentive. But if they don't, and there are multiple jobs out there, so clearly they don't have to.
Our country is in
By the way, he fucked up when he said there's no incentive.
such serious trouble. And the people understand it better than you do and better than I do. The level of anger in this country
is furious. People are very mad. They're upset that they didn't get 2 scoops of ice cream last night with dinner, Sean.
By the way, I want to thank Mark and Philip and Summer for my birthday dinner tonight, where I got 2 scoops of ice cream. It was lovely. I was not expecting that. It was just because they heard it was my birthday. They brought over dessert. It turned out to be 2 scoops of ice cream. It was hilarious.
incredible.
Do you
They're so angry, it's incredible.
think Joe Biden, you observe, he said in 60 Minutes this weekend, watch me. I've been watching him, and I've been playing tapes of him, and I think he is a cognitive wreck. He looks weak, frail, unhealthy. Frankly,
yeah, he's not really putting thoughts together like you are. It's not, he talks, he says what he means to say, and then he moves on. Why can't he do what you do, which is like reiterate the same dumb stories over and over again with less detail over time? Like tell the you know what? Never mind. Don't answer that. Tell the Abdul story again. It gives me a half a boner.
somewhat decrepit and not up to the job. Now,
and yet he kicked your ass, and he's passing all these bills that you said were always 2 weeks away. What's up with that?
Doubt very much that Joe Biden could ever even sit down with somebody and have a long-form interview like this.
Do this? He can't do it. That I can.
That I could tell you. He can't do this. He can't sit down with Sean. I mean, he would need someone. I'm speaking, I'm basically spitballing here, Sean, but he would need somebody to cut out all the flava-foo-foo and make sure that his kofefe is gaboo-boo-boo. And then, edit that and cut it, and they would have to put it together. And then if he told the same thing, and he would need an editor to come in, and edit. He couldn't be without, he would need to, if somebody had to come in and klabaflubu his kofefe and put it together, he wouldn't be able to do that. And I said to Abdul, I said, why do you show me a picture of my house? And he said that to me. He said the house bit to me. But Biden couldn't do this. He's a mess.
Tell you.
So, okay.
He couldn't do that. I tell you, the man can't form a sentence. He did kick my ass, though. And he is getting stuff done that I couldn't get done even though I have all the best words and all the best people. And his people don't turn on him. And even my people don't turn on him. Why is that?
How does the world, you dealt with these world actors, you dealt with President Xi. I went to the summits with Kim Jong-un. You
Did you?
dealt with him. You dealt with Putin.
He really dealt with Putin from the bottom of the deck.
Dealt with hostile regimes. Iran didn't
almost exclusively
much when you were president either.
Yeah, Iran didn't do much while you're at it. I mean, the Israelis had to blow up a nuclear facility over there because they were continuing their nuclear program, and you pulled out of the Iran deal, and that's why.
They didn't seem too inclined to act against us.
Iran was in check. North Korea was in check. I got along very well with Kim Jong-un, which is something that you would have ended up in a nuclear war then.
Okay. No, you wouldn't have. And secondly, this guy gets along with anybody who starves his people.
Russia was totally in check.
Totally.
And China was in check.
Did you scare the crap out of these guys? It sounds like what you said to the Taliban guy, here's a picture of your house.
Well,
Did you do that with others?
They knew.
Yeah, he was like, I showed President Xi a picture of his house, and he went, it's where I live. It's nice, whatever. I showed Putin a picture of 3 out of 9 of his houses. Those are the only ones that I was like, how much did you pay for those?
It was retribution.
I sold him one of them.
They knew that we can't sit back and let these horrible things happen. But with President Xi, as an example, when you're with President Xi, and when you're with just about all of these world leaders,
when you're with them. Interesting. What are you just spooning on a couch, or? By the way, this is going to become a generic statement, and I hope to God he doesn't do the Xi Jinping was like central casting. Nobody can play this guy bullshit.
the top of the game.
They're at the top of their game. That's why Xi Jinping came up with the 3 red lines, a concept about mortgage debt in the country that literally fucked their economy into a cocked hat. It's figuratively fucked their economy into a cocked hat. It is a wreck now. Almost entirely based on Xi Jinping as an individual and the cult of personality he has set up in that country, the absolute control he has over that government. His decisions specifically led to the collapse. I mean, China has long-term problems in their economy, but he was the one who upended all of it. Putin is not at the top of his game. He's acting like a man on a hard fade.
Are at the top of their game.
No, they are not.
They're sharp as a tack.
Yeah, collectively, like all of them together are one sharp tack.
They're smart.
No.
They're brilliant.
In what way? Again, I was promised details by Sean Hannity.
Somebody said, I called President Xi a very brilliant guy. Well, he's in charge of 1.5 billion people without question.
Okay, first of all, with question. First of all, there's not 1.5 billion people in the country. Even by their numbers, it's gone down 100 million. Bless you. It's 1.3 according to them. I would argue it's under 1 billion. That's another conversation for another time. But he's the head of the Communist Party. They have control over it. There was no general election. He was selected by the party to run it. They didn't go, wow, this guy's the most popular. They didn't even have a Saddam Hussein sham election.
The press attacks me. How dare he call him brilliant?
Nobody said that about Xi Jinping. They said it about Putin in one point, I think, and then once about Kim Jong-un, I think.
The enemy. No, that has nothing to do with it. But you have to be really on your game to deal with these people.
So you're saying you shouldn't be president again?
So I don't know. I mean, look, I want to see great leadership in this country. More important than Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative. I want to see great leadership. Our
So you're not running?
Country's going to hell. We are.
No.
Nation in decline.
No, we are not.
I've asked you a lot of questions about January 6th.
None of them have to do with your part in it. And I've always given you an opportunity to avoid any real, difficult question. Can I ask you again how it's not your fault?
There were certain things that are missing. I don't know why they didn't interview Pelosi or the Sergeant of Arms or the Capitol Police Chief.
I recommended the military go down because I knew there'd be
or Muriel Bowser. And
I remember there would be a tremendous number of people, and I knew I was going to walk down there and send people down to go to the Capitol, but I didn't tell them, so there wouldn't be that many cops there. If I told them I was going down, and if it was in my speech, and if we told the Parks Department that we were headed that way, and we got a permit for a march, the place would have been surrounded by cops, and we would have never had a chance to barge into the place and hang Mike Pence. So we had to, right.
They purposely kept out. They showed a lot of your speeches. And stuff, but it's a different question though.
Mm-hmm.
We had 574 riots in the summer of 2020.
Yeah, none of them attacked a federal building in a way that would upend our democracy and install a dictator. I think people who attack a target and set it on fire, or burn a police car, or bomb a state building because they are mad about any particular thing, I think they should face state charges. And if they travel between states and commit acts of vandalism or violence in different states using the protests as a pretext, they should go to jail. And they should face federal charges. But in no way did that fuck with our democracy. Did that attempt to steal the vote of every American?
This was after the
Purposely,
George Floyd.
all coordinated.
Okay. So
all coordinated. It was just this. There was this big spidered out BLM was coordinating riots. They had a riot headquarters. They had out of the Wilbur, interestingly enough.
And
by the way, no, they fucking well didn't. First of all, you don't have to in those particular instances. Like racial tension riots tend to be fairly fucking organic. Secondly, nobody was like, what time's the riot on Wednesday? We're gonna start it at about sunset. Fuck. What? Well, we're starting the Cleveland riot at sunset, and then there's one in Milwaukee. Is Cleveland East Coast or Center? Somebody ask Siri.
Had thousands of cops pelted with bricks, rocks, bottles, and Molotov cocktails, dozens of dead Americans, and billions of property damage. At the time, you offered to cities like Portland over and over again the National Guard.
Right.
It was rejected over.
Right, because of the nature of what had caused the riots, adding National Guard and like troops on the streets would have ratcheted up the violence. Even in Minneapolis, the thing that brought the violence to a close was the brother of George Floyd saying, "Don't do this in my brother's name. This is not what he would have wanted."
And over again.
That's right.
Where's that commission? We can't let that happen in this country.
If I didn't send the Guard in against the governor's wish.
This is Minneapolis.
Right.
Because, you have to wait, in theory. You have to wait.
In theory. Yeah, it's that whole states' rights thing that Republicans used to give a shit about.
For the governor. I think the one thing I might have done differently, although it proved a point, letting the Democrats go to hell, because that's what they did. They've let their states and cities go to hell. They're in such bad shape.
By the way, we were all over Chicago today. It's fucking lovely. Do they have problems here? Yes. Do they have a violent crime problem here? Yes. Do they have a gun problem here? Absolutely. But it is not the picture painted by this prick and everybody in the news is that you can't step outside and after dark or even in the nice parts where you're going to get teeming mobs of immigrant and black hordes are going to climb all over your face. They're going to climb. What was the? Hold on.
Climb over each other's face. You can climb right over their face. You don't have to wear masks. You don't have to do anything.
Right.
They're crime-ridden.
Mm-hmm.
They're evil places. Nobody wants to go there anymore.
Yeah, nobody wants to go to Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Seattle, San Francisco anymore, except the people that do in droves. which is ridiculous. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's one thing to go, we have a real problem and it needs addressing, and by, per capita standards, we should be working on this kind of thing, which is what Biden did with, like, they're going to add 100,000 cops, they're going to add funding and training and that kind of stuff. Fine. But this is just, yeah. Although I will admit, Portland no longer exists. Yes, I want to visit the Portland crater at some point. It's just gone. I got killed by 3 Portlands before noon today. It's terrible, Beck. I don't like. How do you even go outside into the Portland crater? Because there are zombies, and they're obviously radioactive from the asteroid.
No, you have to wait for the governor, Democrat governor, to call.
All governors. That's how the National Guard works, so that the federal government can't take over states. Which these. Never mind.
Ask for permission to use the Guard. If I didn't do it early in Minneapolis, you wouldn't have a city, Sean. You would
bullshit
have a city there.
Bullshit.
You mean if they didn't know I was going into Seattle? Remember when
St. Paul would still be there? Obviously, who gives a shit about St. Paul? But Minneapolis would be gone. It would be like the conjoined Twin City. There'd be like one, and then there'd be like Quatu, just basically attached to it. There'd be like a little part of Minneapolis going, Quaid. That'd be it.
Took over a big chunk of Seattle?
Yeah.
Yes, the big chunk.
They knew we were going in. I said,
this is bullshit. The assholes who made the CHOP or the Chaz, which were basically the same Occupy assholes who did Occupy Wall Street and other places like that, decided they were going to make their own little conclave in there. They killed 2 black teenagers who were driving through the place, and then they ransacked the car to hide the evidence of the murders. And the mayor, who was trying to like negotiate this way into normalizing it and getting back out, just went, fuck this, and they broomed the whole thing.
Going in. We couldn't get the governor to agree. We're going in. I don't care. I may have done it differently. I may have just done what I had to do.
Autonomous.
I might have just nuked it, from the air.
The crime that was committed, and, they talk about buildings. They were ripping down. They were doing big damage in Portland.
Big damage.
The federal courthouses, federal buildings.
You don't remember this.
And they stopped. It's interestingly, the National Guard was never sent in. They eventually took care of it themselves. Over time, as demands were met by some people in the protesting stuff, the protests stopped, and then as the protests started to ebb, the violent part of it went away because those people couldn't use the protests as cover anymore.
You called my show
a piece of shit. You called my show garbage. You called it a waste of time. No, that was Hal. Sorry, Hal. Sorry.
After you saw the interview with Horace Lorenzo Anderson Sr. And his young son, his namesake, was killed in that CHOP Chaz autonomous zone. It raises a lot of questions about
you not doing fuck all.
Future. One of the things that
raises a lot of questions about your future. What are you talking about? The dude's son was killed during the CHOP and the Chaz, and he just made it worse.
It is interesting. You have all of this going on around you and all this chaos. And while you were president, 3 years, Trump, Russia. Okay. All the different controversies.
And we did more than any other president.
How?
No, you didn't.
How is...
Again, I don't even know, like, at a certain point, it's just lazy. He just says that we did more than any other president because he signed a bunch of executive orders and somebody was like, if you keep signing these, it's a record. Like, no, it isn't. Just attacking DACA as soon as you show up in office is not doing more than any other president.
That you can...
I tweeted more bullshit while I was president than Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, Taft combined.
Be president, now post-presidency. I've known you 30 years. Nothing seems to shake you.
What are you talking about? Nothing seems to shake you. Either that or hang with me here a second, Sean. Maybe you're just a shitty reader of other people's expressions. Maybe you just are so involved in a rhetorical act as a broadcaster that you can't fucking recognize other people's human emotions. Maybe this is the moment where Sean Hannity realizes he's a sociopath.
Is it about you? Because I think a lot of people would have collapsed by now.
No, they wouldn't have. This motherfucker called Obama a foreigner and questioned the country of his birth his entire presidency. He's black. He had way more death threats than Trump ever had to experience. Real, genuines they had to deal with constantly. You out of your mind?
Under the stress and
yeah, the stress. Are you stressing right now? No, Sean. Why would you think that? I'm doing great. This is no. My eyes are not dilated. I'm not.
Of never-ending investigation and threats of this legal action and that legal action and people all over.
Because I know I'm innocent, and the truth will set me free. I read that in. I gotta go with 3 Corinthians.
Commentators all over TV saying you should be arrested. He should be this and that. It doesn't seem to faze you.
Because he shit talks all the time.
What does faze me, Sean, is people staring at my giant diapered ass. I'm just sitting in a chair that's too small for a grown-up, that's all. But it makes me look bigger. I chose these chairs because I like to look large in interviews. I had no idea it would backfire this much. And as I'm sitting here, as God is my witness, I'm surprised the fucking thing hasn't broken. Honest to God, this chair, let me show you something. Let me show you the power of this chair, if I could. See that, Sean? This is fine craftsmanship. So when you got a stable matrix of control that you don't have to worry about being shored up in life with, that might have ruined the fabric. I gotta be honest.
So, behind closed doors?
Yesterday I was given a question from a very smart person,
So it wasn't Eric. Are we gonna play this game? Okay, all right. He can't mean. Is he a good judge of what smart means? Or are we just talking about fucking anybody that would hang out with him at this point?
brilliant guy, very successful.
Oh my God. Wait. He's going to tell us a story that he's told us a bunch of fucking times. Back up. Now listen to this. Wait.
More than any other president.
You guys have heard many times his story about how someone said, you must be the most innocent person in the world, right? I think he's going to tell that story, but he's going to tell this story as if it just happened. And this is going to be evidence, according to Sean Hannity, that he's really smart. Let's see. Let's see if I'm right about this.
Can be president, now post-presidency. I've known you 30 years. Nothing seems to shake you. What is it about you? Because I think a lot of people would have collapsed by now under the stress and pressure of never-ending investigation and threats of this legal action and that legal action and people all over, commentators all over TV saying you should be arrested.
Sean, I always have people I can throw under the bus. I don't have to.
He should be this and that. It doesn't seem to faze you. Does it behind closed doors?
Yesterday I was given a question from a very smart person, very top, brilliant guy, very successful person who you know a little bit through reading about him. He said, do you mind if I ask you, we're talking about something, and then he said, do you mind if I ask you a question? How do you take it? This is a tough guy, too. How do you take it?
That's what I was basically asking.
How do you take it? Really? Right up the poop chute, actually, Gary. Thanks for asking. I just do. I just take it. I just learned to take it. I like to take it. I just took it, and I'm going to take it again.
You take it.
Suppository form.
And I said, do I have a choice? I don't have a choice. Because what I did...
He's told this story before.
And I understand.
It didn't happen just yesterday.
And I never knew they could be this evil, because they're very evil people. They're very evil.
Yes, they are. These people who want to ask you more than one question. These people, they want you to answer questions without pleading the fifth. It's evil.
I didn't stop them and sign into law the Statues Act. They wanted to rip down all the statues in this country, including the Jefferson Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial. I mean, it's not even believable.
You're right. It's not even believable.
And as soon as I said, it's 10 years in jail, no any.
That was, by the way, still in existence. What the fuck does this have to do with what he just asked you if the investigations get to you?
It's 10 years. You stay. As soon as I did that, everybody went away. You know, it's an amazing thing.
Yes, I signed a piece of paper and they magically disappeared. It's almost as if they were never there.
But I really looked at him. I said, do I have a choice? I really don't have a choice. I have to go. You have to go forward. And I think we did just about.
You got to survive.
Look, we rebuilt our military, all the.
Oh, my God.
We have, our tax cuts are greater than any tax cuts in the history of America.
No, they aren't. And Sean should point that out.
They are going to raise your tax.
I'm kidding, Sean such a.
That's why when it comes to the election, you asked about the election before.
This is the same answer he gave. He said this like 3 times already.
If you want to have high taxes, if you want to have high crime, if you would, I say this.
You want to get high.
So politically incorrect, they tell me, but I don't think so. It gives one of the biggest hands. If you want to have men playing in women's sports, if you want to have all of this horrible education stuff where they're, you know, brainwashing and indoctrinating your children, but you take a look at all how bad they are.
Oh, it's amazing. They don't like God, they don't like guns, they don't like oil.
It's inconceivable that the Republicans can lose. It's inconceivable.
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Me that they can lose.
Inconceivable. He's literally that guy now.
So I just hope the people get out and vote.
48 days from today.
Yeah, November 8th. And that's the other thing. So I was attacked.
Oh, by the way, I think that's the only detail he said is November 8th is the election. And if you said it's the 4th, he would go, 4th. I'm sorry. He doesn't know it.
Today by Democrats from the state of New York. And there's a rule that's an unwritten law.
There's a rule that's an unwritten law. This is going to be a doozy.
You never do this politically. You won't see Hunter Biden attacked during this period. 60 to 90.
Oh, the 60 days. There's a rule that's an unwritten law, which means it's not a law, that you don't engage in, I guess, prosecutions or political hit job stories 60 days from an election.
Days out before an election, nobody gets attacked. They attacked me. The good news.
You're not running, dummy. You are not running. What the fuck does the midterm election, I'm dead serious. What the fuck does the midterm election have to do with any case against Donald Trump? He's not running. I mean, he's always campaigning, but he's always saying, I haven't decided if I'm going to, and he could solve that. He could say, I'm running for president. Say it. Go ahead. You won't be able to take a dime of his super PAC money anymore, and he'll be broke, and he'll have to sell 5 of his properties.
I just heard my poll numbers went up today.
Yes, I'm sure you have someone on staff whose job it is to tell you this just so you can eat.
Poll numbers went up when they did a raid on Mar-a-Lago very
Nope.
substantially.
Nope.
My poll numbers went up for the 2 phony impeachments. The 2
Nope.
fake impeachments. So with all...
It's Rasmussen. The Rasmussen dude tells him this.
I had to go through... I've done more than just about any president.
Do you?
No, he hasn't. Also, this is not an answer to the question. Didn't answer the question at all. How do you deal with it psychologically? What do you do? Is it?
No, I just know that, my poll numbers will go up if I'm attacked. So I kind of like it because the more they attack me, now they're justifiable attacks, obviously, and I am guilty of these things, but I don't care because I'll get poll rises, and that's all I need. That's the only poll rise I can experience anymore, quite frankly, Sean, unless I have a popsicle stick and some Scotch tape.
You know what? I kept us out of wars. I'm the only one.
You know what? I kept us out of wars. You gave our base in Syria to the Russians.
70 years, I think they said, that kept us out of wars.
Also, Biden isn't getting us into wars. We're helping Ukraine, but we don't have troops over there. He also got us out of Afghanistan. Arguably, you don't get credit for not starting a war if you didn't quit being in the other ones.
I think that their ultimate...
He wouldn't have given that credit to Obama. If Obama had gotten us out of, out of Afghanistan and said, I got us out, he'd be like, well, that didn't, you're going to start one soon anyways.
Oh, if you put all of these things together, is they just don't want you to ever run again for president. You think that is a big part of it.
Look at his jaw. Jesus Christ, that's so weird.
In other words, I'll put it another way.
So they just hate, let me put it this way. They hate not MAGA or America First or the ideas or even your followers. They hate you as a person. There's something about you that they just find disgusting. It's a personality thing. Like you talk like an asshole and you look like one, and they just something about your fucking face.
If you announced right now,
nice try, Sean.
I'm not running in 2024. Do you believe all of this would probably just fade away?
No, it would not.
To have to make it look good, so it would take a little while. Yeah, I think it would go. I think that
Well, then. Save yourself the hassle, buddy.
You look at the polls. First,
but I'm making so much money pretending I'm going to run that I can't say I'm not because.
Do that, are you?
First, the Republicans. No, I like this. I like it because we've done such a good job, and because a lot of people say nobody else could do it. And if you
yes, oh, please believe that. Please keep pushing. Nobody else could do this. Nobody else. No one. This is America, Sean. I'm the best person in the country. Nobody else is capable. I mean, this guy who they've got in there is a criminal mastermind and / doddering fool who rides a bicycle and I can't, but he can't walk. And he's president. But, I mean, obviously, as a one-termer.
Get it. It's a brutal kind of a thing because they attack.
It's a brutal kind of a thing. That's one of my favorite songs about the presidency. It's a brutal kind of thing.
And, if you think about it.
He doesn't.
Doesn't everybody want good education? Doesn't everyone want a strong military? Especially nowadays when you look at what's going on. No, it's been an incredible period of time.
Thank you. Thanks very much. It's been an incredible period of time. Sean, you're right. This is full of detail.
Very proud of what we've done. We've rebuilt our military. We even have Space Force. You know
oh, my God.
Important Space Force. Remember when they took over, they laughed at Space Force, and the military hit them hard. And Space Force now has turned out to be a very, very important thing.
All right, coming up, I asked.
What do you mean coming up? First of all, jackhole. I mean, this is intolerably annoying, but let's see. How much more of this is there? Let me jump through. Get there. I don't need to. Okay.
Facebook is taking action to keep its platform safe.
Very, very happy for you. One ad of 3, which will be this Facebook ad 3 times. Let's see. Let's shift back to me while this is playing. The idea that this is some sort of masterful interview, that he had command of all these ideas, instead of he just regurgitating the same blather from his rally speeches with intolerable repetition, and this kind of self-aggrandizing psychopathy, which I would say the only true benefit of this, or the only result of it, the only material result of it at all, is going to be that he is effectively saying to you, to Republicans especially, like, there's no reason voting for any other Republican. Like, I'm the best that you're ever going to see. This is the best. Hold on. Whoops. Back up, dummy. This is it. Let me pause this. It's back up. Let me go back up. Got through the ads. Yay. All right, here we go. I got to turn the audio on.
And way down. You have to.
No, that's the fighting on policy. Yeah. But what about the?
I'd love to be able to get along with the media.
I'd love to be able to get along with the media because it's how by creating a myth that I'm capable or rich or any of those things, I was able to honestly create a bullshit kingdom. And I'd love to be able to rebuild that again, but apparently nobody's buying it.
I respect many people in the media, you a lot.
Thank you.
When you see Pulitzer Prizes going to people that got Russia totally wrong.
I got it right.
It's and you got it
No, he didn't.
right, and John Solomon got it right.
And John Solomon, yeah, they totally. And the election, obviously, it was rigged and we lost.
Sarah got it right.
Greg Jarrett.
Greg Jarrett's
Everybody.
incredible.
Yeah.
There are some people that got it right that should be rewarded. But you can't reward the people that got it wrong. Exactly the opposite.
So you wouldn't...
Again, what did we hear there? He just congratulating Fox people for being on his side, and anybody else who was not on his side is somehow wrong. Like,
You talk to them. My question is
I wrote it here.
So, when you think back, do you have any regrets?
Yeah, I've had a few, Sean. But I did it my way, like the Candyman can.
You wish, why the hell did I do that? Why did
I tell people that Mexico would pay for the wall? Why didn't I had my health care plan there. Sure, I could have tweaked it for a couple more weeks, but it was great. It was perfect. It would have raised everyone's health care and lowered costs. And I just sat there. I was like looking at him like, you know what? I let perfection be I'm a perfectionist, Sean. That's what it is. Because my infrastructure bill wasn't perfect, is any infrastructure, but I was like, you know what? Even my half-assed, slovenly attempt, my cartoon scrawlings are better than anything they're coming up with, so I
do that. You ever think about that, or?
So you always have regrets.
Thank you. It's good. Hold on, let me write this down.
But my biggest regrets are people.
Oh, you mean hashtag the best people?
When I went to Washington, I was only there 17 times, I've told you this, and I never stayed overnight. So I wasn't into that whole world of the Washington, D.C. society. I was from New York.
I had a bad diaper man. I had a terrible chair man. My furniture man obviously sucked. We had to give it all back because it was covered in bed bugs.
I knew everybody in New York. Now I know everybody, and I know the good ones, the bad ones, the weak ones, the strong ones.
Do you think you would be better because...
I regret everyone else because they failed me. I did nothing wrong. I said I would bring in the best people, and quite frankly, I was terrible at that.
The team and the people around you would be better and stronger.
I think so.
I think so, because I know the good ones now. I really do.
I know so.
I know them.
Oh, but we also had great people. Don't forget, I rebuilt our military. We knocked out 100% of ISIS.
Oh my God! Like that's what I said. Like the dude it's like listening to somebody play a vinyl record in a moving car. He just skips grooves. It just everything that happens in his fucking conversation is just kind of like,
Sean, I know all the best people, and yet I had the terrible people, and I killed ISIS and destroyed it because lower taxes were, I don't even know why the crime in big cities, Sean, is the worst. Like, fuck, man.
We did things that people don't even talk about. There's so...
That's true. There were so many awful things. I've forgotten some of them just because they didn't chart on the absolute devastation of some of the other dumb shit you did.
We did over 1,000 things, right to try, where you're able to try drugs that won't be approved for another 5 years if you
experiment on yourself.
Terminally ill. That was a big thing.
But we had a hard time proving that people were terminally ill before they tried ivermectin. But they certainly were after.
Israel.
I've met people whose lives were...
Israel, if he says the Jerusalem Accords.
Look at Jerusalem, the capital of Israel.
Abraham Accords.
Right, the Abraham Accords.
Oh, he tried to fix it for him.
We did so much. But The big thing is people. I could have had a couple of choices, a few choices, maybe even more than a few choices, that I wouldn't have put a certain person there. You know,
it's their fault.
Government is largely people. Now
the government is there are very few robots, Sean. There are very few. Some dogs, some cats. I've never been a pet person. I attempted to put a meerkat in charge of the Department of Education. Apparently that's, I was thinking outside the box. That wasn't.
I know everybody. I know the good ones and I know the bad ones.
Today, and the ugly ones and the silly ones.
There was a day where your family was impacted directly, your children, who I know all of them really well.
They're so close to me. I mean, Tiffany, but I know Don a lot. I mean, he can tell you the country of origin of any pile of white powder on any surface. I don't know. He was like, we were at a friend of mine's house in the kitchen, and he went, that Ajax was made in a Tijuana gymnasium. And I'm like, how does he even know that? He's like, that has retsin in it.
And I'm
not only will that Coke, is it directly from Peru, but it'll also pearl your teeth.
For a lot of years. Anytime I went to interview you, before you ever thought about really running for president, you always introduced me. They're all nice. They're all great kids.
They're great kids. Adults.
All of them.
They are great kids.
And I've met Barron, who's a great kid.
Great.
And
great. That's the way I think of my children, as great. I'm going to make my children great again when they're not. That's what I've always been. That was how I disciplined them. I was like, make Eric great again. And then it was like, make Don great again. That didn't work. We used to call it, I was going to have it, make Ivanka great again. She was always great. She was always great. So great.
I've watched now, you watch what happened to them today and what they've all had to go through.
Yeah, it's terrible. And I mean, all they did was engage in criminal activity with you. Don't you feel guilty?
And all the depositions and all the...
Yeah, and then they had to answer all these questions, and Eric pleading the fifth, but Ivanka and Don didn't. What's that about?
Legal stuff that goes on. Do you worry about putting other people, what Melania had to go through and Barron had to go through, do you worry about putting them back in that situation?
No, I really don't, because the country needs it, and I really don't like those people.
I'm going to put it nicely.
He's taking this as Sean Hannity's trying to talk him out of running, or saying he's running. He's trying to get him to announce one direction or the other, and financially that will fuck him. So this is probably a frustrating line of questioning, if he even gives a shit.
You're a golfer.
Yeah.
More than you're a father, even.
Why don't you just play golf? Why would you want to give up a great life?
Because our country needs it.
And go back to that hellhole?
Because first, Sean, my life is not great. I'm sitting in a room that looks like a French version of Paul Lynde's birthday cake, and there is no furniture, none. They had to bring these chairs in. I don't know who's going to fumigate them after I'm done. The table is here, the flowers, the flag behind me is one I've humped many times. I can barely get aroused by it anymore. It's just everything's stale. You try to keep things fresh, but the flag's just not giving me anything, Sean. Okay, it's not giving me anything. So how could it excite me? And so but the country needs me.
Because I love the country. And we were so close.
Yeah, this close. I was rubbing up against the flag, and I was like this close. And then I was like, that's not the result I wanted.
Before COVID came in, we had a country like...
Before I got rid of the pandemic response team, COVID would have been nothing. And before I got rid of the cops program, then Derek Chauvin has to throw a monkey wrench in my whole thing, and we've got riots and thing.
Never in history. We were going up, and even with that, I saw your friend Laura the other night do a show on the number.
Ingram.
There's a tremendous number.
I think.
With COVID, and again, when it came, nobody knew what it was. Yeah. It was China's gift to us, okay? A horrible gift.
A horrible gift. If you really play it right, because it can get rid of some of the weak. You know what I mean?
But even with COVID.
A horrible gift. Can you imagine if Biden
in conversation called COVID a horrible gift. Like it would be a banner on every Fox and Newsmax show. Steve Bannon, they would call his presidency a horrible gift, a horrible gift. He said,
"My numbers are better than anybody's numbers in decades. You could add Bush and Obama together. Forget Biden, because look, his stock market now is lower than where mine was, and you're talking about 2 years later."
No.
My stock market hit a record even after COVID when I handed it off, if you call it a handoff.
I do. Well, I actually don't, because you weren't there for the handoff. You dropped the ball. You fumbled the ball, and he picked it up and ran it into the end zone.
My stock market was higher than it was the day before COVID came in. I mean, we did an amazing job.
So, final question.
When he does that, that is literally the definition of seething. You've heard the term, you know it emotionally what it means. That's what he's doing. He's seething. That's the whole, like, the weird breath slurping in his bottom teeth. That is a man genuinely seething. It's nice to have an actual example of that.
You gave us a lot of time. Thank you.
Yes, and don't worry, we'll cut this up and make it look somewhat coherent. I'll bail you out and fill in the blanks when you totally go off the rails.
So,
you think Biden would give you this much time?
No, but only because Hannity's a dick.
I don't
think he'd be answering.
You want
these
to know my
questions?
honest answer? I don't even think he knows today's Wednesday. That's my honest answer. I say it
I
regularly.
hope he does. For the sake of this country, I hope he does.
It's very great. I should tell a story about one time.
Is it Wednesday? Like that's what this motion is. I hope he does. Cut. This is Wednesday, right? He didn't just fuck with me.
You requested that I go easier on him. He did say that to me. He thought I was being a little too flippant.
I think that it was too tough. I thought you were very tough, and I thought it was too tough. And I will say this. Forget politics and the Republican and the Democrat stuff and the radical lefts and everything else.
I want best for this country. I hope he does great because I care about this country.
I want somebody
This is the magnanimity.
that's a great leader.
I want somebody that's a great leader. Okay, fuck you. This is just like, I'm not going to run, but if I can't run, I'm going to back DeSantis or whoever is going to win because I'm going to take credit for their win.
I want somebody that can stand toe-to-toe with President Xi of China. You can go, I said...
I could stand toe-to-toe with Xi of China. And 我会说中文，说得很好。Just saying. 他不可以，
said that you
他不
could
会。
go all over Hollywood
DeSantis 也不会。
and try and get somebody to play the role of President Xi, the
You would have to find a person in a Winnie the Pooh outfit.
president of China. There is no actor like that.
I don't know what the fuck this is. There's no actor like that? Was that his way of saying he's too ugly? You wouldn't find a... What, are all the Chinese actors, like male actors in America, too good looking?
There's nobody like that.
There's nobody like... What? Again, I struggle to try and figure out why he thinks this is an impressive thing to say and why it makes any sense.
These are fierce people.
They're fierce. There's no fierce Chinese actors. No, you know, you couldn't get somebody like Jet Li or Jackie Chan or Andy Lau or Donnie Yen. They couldn't Chow Yun Fat, like Sammo Hung. They just don't have the fierceness. Get fucked.
Fierce man.
He's a fierce man. No, he isn't.
I was a very good friend of his until COVID came in.
I was a very friend of his until he attacked us with a bioweapon. This is the argument, which I never saw coming. I thought he was my buddy. Maybe. Here's an idea. maybe it wasn't a biological attack. It was just ineptitude on your part and other world leaders' part that it got as bad as it got. Or they did mean to do it on purpose, and you're an incompetent fuck who got more Americans killed than during the Civil War.
And I gave them up. I said, this is too much.
Yeah.
This is too much. I mean, honestly.
Made a great, unbelievable trade deal.
Yes, not believable at all.
China.
They didn't believe in it.
Made an unbelievable trade deal, getting rid of NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made, and replacing it with the USMCA.
Yeah, that's not Xi related at all.
Now Mexico and Canada,
they want to renegotiate it, and we can't let them do it.
Want to renegotiate because the deal is so good. We did unbelievable things, but we need our sharpest people, because people like President Xi, like Macron, like I could name so many of them.
Please, like Macron. Why is Macron on his mind? Is it because they discovered the belief was that he had information on Macron? Maybe you're not a good negotiator. Maybe you're not able to build bridges with these folks. Maybe you only have power in situations where you have compromat on them, and you only bend to the wants of countries that have compromat on you because you're a transactional asshole.
Like Putin, but of course right now he's having a different kind of a spell. But
that's how I'd put it. He's having a different kind of a spell. He's I don't know. He's just doing his thing. He'll wake up tomorrow and go, I had this thing that I invaded Ukraine, and you were there, and Scarecrow, you were there.
But let me...
And thousands of dead civilians, you were there.
These are fierce people.
They're fierce. And you need a fierce person to shake hands with them palm up and lower your head when you're around them.
They're smart. They're tough. They don't know about losing. Putin's having a hard time. And
he's finding out about losing. He is. He's getting a crash course in losing. You know who's also getting a crash course in losing? Xi Jinping. Maybe, just maybe, you were overestimating these assholes and giving them more credit than they deserve because you were infatuated with their power structure that they, by the way, had almost no hand in creating, except they just lived off of it and expanded it.
Be very careful what's happening. He's being handled incorrectly. But
how would you handle him?
Well, as I used to just, what you would do, work the shaft, and you would cradle, and then there would be he liked a little tickle right around here.
How would you handle him?
Mostly in my mouth, Sean.
These are very strong, smart,
sexy, hot people. That Xi Jinping, when I'm doing this I'm imagining both of them.
Well, and beyond Republican
Shut the fuck up.
or Democrat, I want to see somebody that's great.
You want Joe Biden to succeed?
I would rather have him succeed incredibly, even if it meant a much tougher and maybe even a loss. I want to see what's good for the country.
A much tougher or maybe even a loss, meaning him losing?
If I had my choice of having this mess that we're having there right now, this country is a mess. This country's not going to survive. The way it's going right now, it's not going to survive.
So you'd be willing to go through...
Also, survive what? After 2 years? Because this motherfucker's not... even if he ran, we're still 2 years away from the general in the presidential election. What the fuck is this guy going to do? What's this change that's going to happen in his mindset? What's the big and again, if the Republicans would take the House or the Senate or whatever and somehow act as a stopgap until he got back in power in his mind, do you think he would go, well, at least the Republicans in there stopping the worst of this, and therefore it's not that big a deal. We're going to be fine. He's still going to argue, even with them in there, that this is going to this country is cratering. Nobody is going to
concerts or movies. They're not eating anymore. People are wasting away. They're hiding at home. They're becoming habitual masturbators. They're wearing the same shirt 3 days in a row. It's terrible.
All the hell that we talked about today and all that you've been through all these 6 years.
Yes, the hell that you've been through. How do you do it? How can you survive?
Because you put your country first. Is this a calling for you?
I put the country first, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good way of putting that. Thank you for bailing me out there. You wanted me to say that about 8 minutes ago, and I did not catch the hint. So thank you for just saying it so I can repeat it like a 4-year-old in a toilet commercial.
And it's
Mommy, make a flush. Say, Mommy, make a flush. Mommy, make a flush.
I had you knew me long before I ran for politics.
You knew me long before I ran for politics.
One of the great lives. I had the greatest.
I had one of the great lives.
Places in the world.
I could grab women by the pussy. They couldn't do anything about it. I bought property with money I never had using collateral that didn't exist, and I paid almost no taxes by lying about how things were. I changed wives on a regular 6 to 8 year schedule.
The greatest.
Everybody should live your life.
No. Mm-mm. I'd skip everything this asshole did, if only just so that I could not party at Mar-a-Lago with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah,
the most incredible.
But you worked hard. Yeah.
You worked hard.
No, it's very funny. I was heading into a big event at the convention center, Robin Hood. You know what Robin Hood is?
Yeah.
Tremendous numbers, like 4,000 or 5,000 people. And
he was speaking at a get-rich-quick scheme kind of gathering, one of those.
Half the
paid speaker.
People were cheering wildly, and half the people were booing.
It's weird. And yet, I just told you, Sean, that the whole country hates what Biden is doing and would love to have me back.
I had just announced that I was running.
Mm-hmm.
My wife looked at me, Melania, she said, "Do you know, darling, nobody's ever booed? I've never heard anybody booing you before."
You've never gone anywhere where you mattered in any conventional sense. Most people just, if they'd applaud or laugh, and we thought the laughter is a positive noise.
I said, welcome to the world of politics, right?
And we have more Hannity coming up straight ahead.
Wait, is he just bailing on the end of this? Please tell me there's, because we're almost, we got to be near the end of this shit. No, hold on. Oh yeah, there's still a bit. They're gonna make.
What would you do, thinking through this? You surprised me one night with an answer. I asked you, what would you do differently? And you said, I'd stop fighting with the media because they're corrupt.
Look, he's just feeding them answers now. That's why they go to break. I'm going to, because he was supposed to answer this, what would you do differently? And he blamed other people. And he's like, I'd stop fighting with them. You said you would stop fighting with me. That's the one thing people in the focus groups want you to change. And I told you to say that, and you said it back to me because you're a fucking monkey. And now I want you to do it again, and you're not. This is a child in a commercial.
A waste of my time. Did you really mean that? You would stop fighting with the media?
Well, I think I fight with them a lot less. I mean, I believe the term
I would totally fight.
Fake news emanated from me.
I think it's branded.
No.
Right across
I think it was
tattooed into their foreheads.
I think I've explained that.
Yeah.
If I didn't fight, my presidency would have been a failure and the country would have been way, way down. You have to...
No, not the fighting on policy,
Yeah.
but what about the...
I'd love to be able to get along with the media.
Except I want to get along with the media, but still do the awful shit that I do, and just have them take it and leave me alone. Kind of like how Kim Jong-un does with his news. Can I have that?
Many people in the media, a lot.
Thank you.
When you see Pulitzer Prizes going to people that got
What the fuck?
Russia totally wrong.
I got it right.
It's and you got it.
Wait, did we jump back?
Society. I was from New York. I knew everybody in New York. Now I know everybody, and I know the.
Oh shit! There's like an overlap in this. Hold on.
Where the fuck was this?
It's not going to.
So you'd be willing to go through all the hell that we talked about?
And half the people were cheering while.
Okay, yeah, so that was the end of it. He just said more Hannity in a moment and then just bailed the fuck out. There's no goodbye in this, or is there a piece of it later? Yeah, that's it. Hold on. Yeah, no.
Facebook is.
That's it. That's. I mean, maybe there's a third part. Jesus Christ, how much did they have to cut this thing up? Well, we made it, though. We made it through that big chunk of it. I'm going to go back to your hi chat room. Love you guys. Sorry I didn't do more, but my iPad is my second screen over here, and it's about to die because it's not charging, and I don't know why. So it's about to collapse. So the timing's actually good that it ended when it did. That's it. My girl and I are going to go see my friend Ben play at Reggie's if we can get over there in time. They should be going on stage right about now, so hopefully we'll catch some of the show. And then radio tomorrow, regular time, 9 to 11 Pacific time, and the great Philip Ittner will be joining us in studio with me and Johnny Miller. Johnny Miller, listen to me. Johnny Million at the studio here at WCPT. And then after that, we're going to go to this Ukrainian restaurant, and I'm going to bring... If I can, I'll have my setup with me because I'm gonna tape what we're doing tomorrow. I'll set the whole thing up, and maybe I can bring it with us. And if I can set up one of the cameras and just kind of tape us being there or something, that would be really cool. Or maybe I'll just get it on my phone, or we'll see. But just so I can get some of the conversation in the Ukrainian place and do a little mini walk around or something like that. It's going to be great. So, and then I've got a show tomorrow night. I've got work to do, and I've got writing to do, and I love you and bless you. And I appreciate you guys very much. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And I'm out. I'll see you for radio tomorrow. Whew, man. It's good to manage to actually get a whole show in. That was nice. That's good. That was a full one. That's 2.5 hours. I think we did it. We managed. I'm sorry if I didn't reference the chat more. I apologize for that, but I was just kind of battening down the hatches with that particular clip and managing that other stuff. So thank you guys so much for your support. Like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, share it, that kind of stuff. And I adore you, and I will see you soon. Okay, bye.